Welcome to Launch Code, a premier business podcast, starring Evan Hafer, Matt Best, and Jared Taylor.
Welcome to another episode of Launch Code. I am joined today with my buddy Paul Bork from Drift Media and my good friend Jordan Hunter from Kimber America. We're going to do an interview today with Jordan, talk about his time growing up in Tennessee and joining the Marine Corps and transitioning through the different jobs he went through and how he got there and what he's doing today. And Paul, the police officer, is here as well to add some color commentary to this. So without further ado, Jordan, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Paul, thank you for coming on.
I appreciate it.
All right, let's get into it. All right, so Jordan, you grew up in Tennessee?
I did, just outside of Memphis.
Yeah.
And I guess about just after high school, didn't really know what I wanted to do, kind of thing. And, recruiter's dream.
There you go. Good looking, salon quality hair.
Yeah. Dad had one of those great talks. I don't give a fuck what you do, but you're getting out of my house.
Okay.
So
motivational speak.
Yeah, right. I think I'm pretty certain he called me a loser.
Right.
Pretty certain he was right.
Yeah.
And a few months later, off to boot camp.
What year was that?
This is, I guess, September of 2000. So yeah, he was spot on. I'd already graduated high school.
So you had noticed there wasn't like a childhood dream to join the Marine Corps or any of that stuff?
No, well, so yeah, my grandfather, he was in the Marine Corps, and at that point in time, he was a tech sergeant, and he was in Korea and all that. And I had an uncle, he was in the Marine Corps, and my grandfather had 7 brothers. Yeah, I get some of that, and 5 were in the Marine Corps. So there was only one choice.
There was only one?
Yeah,
that
definitely.
Was it?
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So you went to boot camp where, California or Parris Island?
I went to California. I went to San Diego, MCRD San Diego.
All right, and then graduated?
Yeah.
And what'd you do? What was your MOS?
0311.
Which is?
Digging ditches. It's rifleman, infantry.
Okay. Did you like that one?
I did. Yeah. So, initially, when I first went in, for the first 2 years, 18 months or so, I was on a fleet anti-terrorism security team. So basically, kind of, I don't really call it high speed or anything like that, but it was first 2 years or so. I was in forward deployed in Rota, Spain.
How was that?
At a naval air station. That's tits. That's where you want to be. You want to be on a naval air station, especially in the Med. I mean, I think the Navy has the best bases.
Really?
Yeah.
So how old were you at this time?
19 to 20 or 21.
So had you ever been anywhere in the world?
I didn't even, so when I went off to boot camp, I'd never even been on a plane at that point. That was the first time I'd gotten on a plane.
So Tennessee boy, through and through.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
And so you wind up in Spain.
Yeah. Yeah.
Eye-opening experience?
Yeah, a little frustrating with the girls, but
really?
The language barrier, but and my 12-year-old boyish looks only get me so far. But yeah,
because you look like you're 25. You're what, 37?
You're 37.
37.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Just for those of you who can't see Jordan and Paul vouch
striking.
For this, Jordan looks very, very young. Jordan's going to be like 65 years old and have like a 20-year-old girlfriend.
That's the idea.
Yeah, I mean he looks very young.
My wife will appreciate that. Yeah,
that was a joke. But so you're in Rota, Spain, and then where were you when 9/11 kicked off?
I was in Rota, Spain. We were actually doing, we were in dress blues and on the parade deck there in front of our HQ and getting inspected because the Commandant of the Marine Corps was coming the next day. And so, we're going through inspection and our squad leader and platoon sergeant just kind of fucking disappeared. And we have what's called a MAR bar, Marine bar, there in one of the barracks with a big screen and pool table and all that kind of thing. Anyway, they were in there and they just never came back. And after a while, they said, "Okay, you guys can fall out." And walked in the MAR bar there and see the second plane just disappear into the building. Shit. And I remember I said something to the effect of, no, I know exactly what I fucking said. I said, "What is this? Is that real, or is this a movie?" And someone said, "Shut the fuck up," and it was just that plane. Just what I'm talking about. That plane, it just disappeared. It was just gone.
I know. Yeah. I was actually helping my uncle pour a concrete slab when that happened.
Yeah.
And we ran inside the house, and I saw the second plane as well.
Yeah.
And I was just like,
So yeah, in Spain it was like 1,500, 1,700. So I don't know, around 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock, somewhere in there, and PM, and yeah. So we were at the end of the day, and or work day or whatever, and then all the alarms go off on base, and they shut the thing down, and the commandant's already on the way. So we secured the flight line, and I didn't know what was going on the next few days. We were just out there,
just kind of wondering, like,
on the flight line, just hanging tight. I don't think anyone knew what the fuck was going on at that point, And then after that, so you remember that time frame? That was when Bush, Axis of Evil, and all that stuff was going on.
Yep.
He was giving those speeches. So the entire time we're going in Afghanistan, we're really staging for the war in Iraq. So the rest of my time in Spain was spent going on. They would fly me out from Rota to USNS ships in the Atlantic, and about 12, 15 miles out before the Mediterranean, before straight to Gibraltar. And then we would take these USNS ships that look like big, Connex boxes on top of the ships, like 17 of us, and they would take us across, and we go through in the middle of the night. And if you look into the well decks or inside any of these boxes, just full 5 tons, 7 tons, helos, just all kinds of shit. It was like Tetris down there. It's packed full, and we're going to war in Iraq, by the way. Before we even had, big Army, big Marine Corps in Afghanistan, staging for the war in Iraq is what we're running stuff through, all the way down to the Suez Canal, and then another team from Bahrain would come in, relieve us, and we'd rinse and repeat kind of thing. Yeah. So, kind of funny. After doing that for some time, I was thinking, man, I'm going to miss out on the war. So it was like a 24-month kind of thing, and then you rotate back to the regular infantry. And I was like, I'm going to miss out on the war. Longest conflict in U.S. history, right? And you don't know that then. But I requested to go back early so I could, catch the war. And I rotated back to 1st Battalion, 6th Marines. They had just gotten finished with a deployment. And so they were at the bottom of the list to deploy. And that's Camp Lejeune in North Carolina just cleared out. And that was in February. We invaded Iraq. We had already been in Afghanistan at that point, but invaded Iraq. And then I deployed to Afghanistan shortly after.
It's interesting you'd say like you worried you're going to miss out, because like I know I've had conversations with Evan and Jeff, and they were talking about like the initial invasion in Iraq, and everyone's like, it's going to be over if we don't hurry up.
Oh, you think about the first Gulf War, and how quick
100
that
hours
was.
or something like that.
Yeah.
But so how long were you deployed?
When I did deploy, it was now we're looking at like so I did an entire workup for a Marine Expeditionary Unit, and then we deployed, and at that point we didn't know if we were going to Afghanistan or Iraq. Saddam hadn't been caught yet, and and obviously Bin Laden,
right?
No one knew where the fuck he was, and but we pretty much were mopped up in Iraq, and that was really before the insurgency and all that really had kicked off over there.
What year is this, by the way?
This is 2003. 2003, and it was early 2003, like January, February.
What year were you on?
22nd Marine Expeditionary Unit. I didn't. And then the deployment was 2004. It was we left in like January or something, and then came back in September. So
how long were you gone total for that one?
9
months?
Around 9 months, yeah.
And then you from there you got out?
Yeah, I took terminal when I came back, and did the whole SEPs and TAPS thing almost immediately coming back, and I got out like immediately, like 2 weeks after I gotten back.
When did you decide you weren't going to re-enlist?
Like fucking boot camp.
Day one.
With the war, you don't know what you don't know, and sometimes prison you take a shining to it. But
right.
It was I don't regret nothing. It was awesome. I look back with the nostalgia now at this point, but I had to remember, like, remember that time your face froze on the ground when you were doing cold weather training in North Carolina or whatever, and or you went to Albania and you're cold and wet and it just sucked. And,
right.
Yeah. But it was good. The camaraderie. Like, you just get tight with people through the shittiness. I did. Well, I miss those guys.
Yeah. You think about them every day, right?
Oh yeah. And keep up with a lot of them too.
Did you? So when you were over there and you made a decision you weren't going to re-enlist, like, had you had any?
And so honestly, yeah, like that was at that point in time, I I think it was about 2003, 2004 when I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get out. So rotations were 5 months between deployments at that point in time,
Right.
and I didn't know, like I mentioned a second ago, I didn't know what I wanted to do when I went in. No direction, recruiter's dream, and I just knew I wanted to go to college at that point towards the end of my enlistment.
So you didn't know what you wanted to do career-wise or work, but you knew you wanted to go to school, get education.
Right, yeah.
All right, and so you get out, and then you go to University of Memphis.
I did, yeah. I went back home.
Right.
And went to the University of Memphis. And again, no direction. Just my mission at that point, though, was power through it. I felt like I was behind. All these guys, those that did go to college from my high school graduating class kind of thing, had, they had started their careers. They had a 4-year head start on me, and I was just starting college. So I felt behind and kind of just powered through it. So I graduated in like 3 years.
But it's amazing that somehow the message has not been conveyed to kids who think, that don't have a sense of patriotism, don't want to serve the country. They just they feel there's an obligation to graduate high school and go to college. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how we as a society, especially the past 18, 20 years we've been at war, haven't gotten the message across that, hey man, college, you'll get a lot more out of it and you'll be much more prepared for it if you don't go in when you're 18. Mm-hmm. Take some time off, travel the world, do some form of service, whatever it be. But looking back on how you were as an 18-year-old versus going to college at 24? 23,
yeah.
So do you feel, looking back now, that you were more prepared for college at 23 than you would have been 18?
Definitely. Maturity wise, yeah, I would have failed out and ended up doing, I don't know what I would have ended up doing.
Yeah. So, but at the time you're like, man, I'm behind schedule.
Oh yeah.
I've been wasting time.
So I power through, that was my mission, just finishing and taking on no debt, by the way, too.
Right. What was your fear of debt?
Huh?
What was your,
I just don't like owing anybody anything,
right.
Credit cards, I still to this day, I hate credit cards. I don't like carrying any debt.
So, and you had the GI Bill?
Yeah. And I did the kicker thing, right?
What is that?
So they, at the time, and they probably still do, you could put like another, I don't know, X amount is a small amount of money and get like a shitload more towards college. Like, dude, I don't know. Don't quote me on this, but it was something like $1,500, $2,500, and you got an extra like ass load more.
Half a year at college.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. And
so they would take that out of your paycheck, or you would?
No, so I would go. You when you go to college, and you're using the job, you work through the VA there, or that they've got a rep on campus, and they make sure you're in good standing and all that stuff, and then they give you a check every so often. It hits your bank account, and then you pay for your school and all that stuff and your books.
So if you were able to kick in some of your own cash, they would. I don't know, not match it, but they would give you
a lot more. And that's why I was in, and you had to take advantage of it while you're in, kind of thing. To get
so how long did it take you to finish school?
It just over 3 years, so 3.5 years.
So you did it in under 4.
Yeah,
went through summer and stuff.
Yeah, which ate up GI Bill really quick.
Really,
I didn't realize those summer courses were so much more expensive than the regular.
How were your grades?
They were okay. I mean, my mission accomplishment was getting through. Like, that was my mission, and I was going to accomplish it as fast as I could. That was my goal. So the grades, I mean, it was like, C's and B's kind of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, but I worked, I'd work at night, and 40 hours kind of a week. It wasn't anything crazy, but I'd go to school at 8 a.m. to like just after noon, and then go to work from 3 to 11 at night at this liquor store at night,
So let's talk about the liquor store.
Yeah.
So when you were in the Marine Corps, you were in charge of other Marines.
Yeah, 17 Marines. So squad leader. I got NJP'd, but that's a whole different thing for hazing. Good NJP. Hazing, assault, destruction of government property. I broke my hand, so that was the destruction of government property part. But I had a boot lieutenant walk in. But anyway, that's a whole different thing. But so I got non-rect. I quickly got to, became a corporal in like the first year and a half or something, and then had cutting score for sergeant like shortly after that, like fast, and like really fast. And then I at that point in time, I I had this like kind of a self-destructive thing going on where I would, I still kind of do have to keep myself in check. Like get bored and I'm like,
yeah, no, I get it.
Yeah.
Well,
So
I get you.
Yeah. So I never picked up sergeant, but that's a squad leader is a sergeant's billet. But I had a sergeant's billet as a corporal.
So you were in charge of 17 Marines and a Navy Corps,
yeah,
right?
corpsman as well.
And then you get out of the Marine Corps,
Yeah.
go to school, and now you're working at a liquor store.
Yeah.
And going to school during the day.
Yeah.
What was your job at the liquor store?
So it's kind of a assistant manager kind of thing, the night manager.
So let me ask this. Did you think that I was a squad leader in the Marine Corps, deployed twice, I'm older than most college kids, more mature, or more experienced, I won't say more mature, I'm going to be able to get a job?
Oh, no doubt, man. And they tell you that bullshit at SEPs and TAPs too when you're getting out and you're transitioning out, that you go through these courses and they're like, let me teach you how to build your resume. 17, you've gone through this amount of training and you had this amount of people underneath you and your equipment, that was over millions of dollars worth of equipment. Yeah, that might all be true, but how does that translate to a fucking job in the real world? Like, it's not so and you know what? Everyone wants to put the fucking flag on, and that's awesome, man. Like, trust me. No, I know no one's biggest patriot is anyone else. And, but like, when rubber meets the road, no one's handing out fucking jobs, right?
Right.
You know, and that was like when I graduated college, it was 2008. So right in that awesome time in our economy where, you know, the bubble had kind of
2008.
burst. Yeah.
Oh,
So
you guys want to play a game of tag on that one? Who had a more miserable life in 2008? I win that one.
Contemplating going back in and doing the officer route, but at that point in time, remember Obama was now he's doing truth withdrawals,
right?
Rather than I think there was a troop surge and you know.
Well, 2008 the that's when we had too big to fail.
Yeah.
Lehman Brothers crashed.
Yep.
Banks were going.
Yep.
We had the big bailouts.
Yep.
People couldn't get loans.
Yep.
I was heavily invested in real estate at the time. I had a project. Everything changed. Couldn't get the units we were selling FHA warranty approved, and then the units I was selling were over $500,000. So those were jumbo loans, and they shut all jumbo loans down. So I mean, like there was literally no game in real estate, and there was no jobs. I think at that point, between 2008 and 2010, on average, there was 250,000 MBAs unemployed in New York City alone.
And I sure wasn't going to hire someone like you for the liquor store.
Absolutely. Yeah. No. Well underqualified for a liquor store.
Yeah.
So you're in the liquor store, graduate college, and then, all right.
Well, the next thing, what do you do? The next thing, I dated this girl awesome girl all the way through college, and you get married, right? That's what you're supposed to do next. And
living on a timeline,
I had an agenda.
Checking goals.
Right? So we got married and she graduated a semester before me. She moved to Nashville, Tennessee. And as soon as I graduated, that same day, drove off to Nashville. We got married that weekend, courthouse style. We're peanut butter poor. And
I like it.
And at that point, now I'm like, fuck, I moved to Nashville. Like, I need to find a job. But I've got this college degree. And I was a vet. Surely someone's going to hire me.
And I'm a Marine.
That's right. I'm a Marine. I'm not like someone who was in the Army. Someone's going to hire me, right?
Right.
And no, it wasn't exactly. Like, it was tough to even get like a waiter kind of job at that point. And I am not equipped to be a fucking waiter. Like,
No.
Like, I don't know if
that's not a bad thing. You're not waiter material.
I would lose it. And I don't have that servient kind of attitude. I don't think when it comes to some douchebag telling me his burger's cold or something,
Yeah. And so then you got a job at?
Yeah. So it was awesome. I got this job at, are you familiar with Pilot Travel Centers?
So that's owned by the Haslam family.
That's right.
Whitney Haslam was a very good friend of mine in college.
Yeah.
Great gal.
Yeah.
And had no clue who the hell her father was.
Yeah. Jimbo.
4 years through college, didn't know who her uncle was, didn't know who her grandfather was, knew none of those things.
Well, they got a little bit of coin. And so
they
I worked
the Browns, and a bunch of other stuff.
I worked at one in Nashville, just outside of Nashville. I worked at a Pilot Travel Center there, and I was the assistant manager I think I was making $34,000. I know I was making $34,000 or so a year.
So was that more or less than you made in the Marine Corps?
About you know what, I don't know. I wasn't making dick when I first went in, but I mean with deployment stuff, money and danger pay, hazard pay, all that crap. Probably it was about what I was making when I got out.
Yeah, but no one's shooting at
I mean,
you.
all the benefits and everything. Yeah.
You have to worry about anybody shooting at you. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
So how long were you at Pilot Flying J, making 34 grand?
Oh man, long. You know, maybe it was under 2 years, and it was just long enough for my wife that she's like, hey, I want to go back to school and get a degree in pharmacy. You know, become a pharmacist, get a doctorate in pharmacy. And so we went back to Memphis, and thank goodness I could pop smoke from Pilot, cleaning like truckers come off fucking walls, right?
So this is the second time that you've had to hit the reset button. So
Right.
you went from being in charge of 17 guys, now you're in college, assistant manager for a liquor store.
Yeah.
You get your degree, and now you're cleaning up the bathroom as an assistant manager at a gas station.
Oh, it's fucking gross, yeah.
So you actually took a step back. You weren't cleaning bathrooms at the liquor store. Degree in hand, wash rag in the other one.
With gloves on.
There you go.
So, she, at that point, okay, so this is where I kind of like, what am I going to, I need to figure something out. Economy's not getting any better. And at this point, I went to I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I figured going to work for a trade show company might give me the opportunity to see a bunch of different, industries. And maybe then light bulb would go off, and sure enough, it did. Because like it was actually we went to SHOT Show and walked the floor selling trade show booths, and ran into Daniel Defense trying to soliciting them, trying to sell them a booth.
Daniel Defense out of just south of Savannah, Georgia.
Yeah,
my hometown.
Yeah.
So leave. So you got a new job selling. So how were you at sales?
No, I wasn't any good, man. I wasn't that good. I mean, but
You were selling to a captive audience, I guess, so to speak.
I mean, the guy he had no intention of buying a booth from me, but it's funny. Daniel Defense has these, they look like hotel key cards, and they were at that point in time, they were the business cards. So the VP of sales and marketing, he gave me his card. He gave me like a couple minutes he heard me out. He even looked me in the face and was probably thinking about what he's going to do that night.
Right.
Let me pitch him. And I held on to that card, and because it was like a hotel key card. Periodically would check their sites and bug him about buying a booth from me, and I saw they were hiring a trade show manager, and so I was like, jackpot, dude. I walked around SHOT Show with a boner. There's guns everywhere. This is awesome. This is fucking what I want to do.
So it's interesting you mentioned that he gave you a business card that was made of plastic.
Yeah.
So when I graduated college, my mother gave me a book on like things that you do when you graduate college. Mm-hmm. And don't remember who wrote it. Don't remember the name of the book. Don't really care. But what I do remember is that the guy told a story about a gift he got when he graduated college was his father laminated 100 business cards with his name and phone number and email on it. And the thought behind it was that you will never throw away a plastic business card because you feel like it's important and it's valuable versus just a piece of paper business card. Yeah, screw this thing.
Yep.
But people tend to keep the plastic ones.
And weird.
So it's
weird. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that. So you'd hit him up, and so
yeah, and that's exactly right. That's why I held on to that thing.
it's important.
Yeah. He actually called the same day I applied. I guess they're having problems. Savannah area.
Yeah.
Yeah. You think Gulfstream's getting the pick of the litter down there.
Oh, for sure.
So they were having and Daniel Defense. I don't know if
what year was this?
This is like 2011.
Okay.
So they were a smaller company then. They had the U.S. SOCOM contract for this rail, but that was it. They were a rail company. They were 80% focused on military, 20 on consumer side, which is not the case anymore. Mm-hmm. But it was, and that was like. They weren't even making complete guns, but a year. They were making rails primarily. So they just started getting into rifles, ARs,
And so what was your job there?
So they hired me to be the trade show manager. And that, and here's the thing, man. I hadn't worked at that trade show company before that long. I knew enough to get me in the door. But my brother-in-law said, yeah, but, and I was kind of insecure about that. And I was talking to my brother-in-law, and he said, I said, man, I kind of just faked the funk and got this job as this trade show manager with this AR company. And he goes, yeah, you can look at it like that, or you can like look at it like, fuck, you're the subject matter expert. You know more, even though you're not that, you're kind of green at the trade show thing. You're pretty senior compared to these guys. They don't know up from down. So fake it until you make it.
My grandmother used to say, if you can't dazzle them with brilliance, baffle them with bullshit.
So I was baffling with a lot of bullshit.
So how long were you the trade show manager then?
Well, that didn't last long. I didn't get fired. No, that's later on. It did, but no, I didn't get fired. They quickly. That company was growing so quickly. They had They had opportunities for vertical growth within. I mean, we went from like 60 employees, 80 employees to, over 200 and something. And during the course of me being there, and that obviously that's presented. We're $11 million company to a. $11 million company to a 50, I guess, 40 or 50.
Multiples of 10.
Yeah. So 100% growth every year and are over. And it went from trade show manager for 6 months, and then I went to marketing manager, and that was about like 3 or 4 months, and then director of marketing.
Did you like it?
After that? Yeah, I liked it. I mean, it was great. And they let me do, I don't think they knew it was a company that was growing so rapidly. They just kind of like turned me loose. I'm like, yeah, you're doing something right. We're growing, we're getting our name out there. Yeah.
Whereas in the opposite, when growth is slow and sales are not great, it's the marketing guy's fault.
Yeah. I thought they were giving me enough rope to hang myself, but really they were letting me run with it.
Yeah. So that was fun.
It was great.
And then, so you left there and then wound up at.
Yeah. So I ended up, after about 4 years, I did consulting for a year, 11 months, and I had this non-compete thing going on, and then Sig Sauer was hitting me up, and they worked it out where I got out of my non-compete a little bit early, and I went.
So there's a touch point there. Non-compete clauses.
Oh, yeah.
When you get hired, you have to sign a non-compete. Make sure you read it.
Oh yeah. So you got all these sea lawyers out there. That's what we call it in the Marine Corps. That's like a terminal lance corporal who knows everything. Knows the way of the Marine Corps and advises these young boots when they come in. He's a terminal E3. He's never going to be more than that. Got kind of a chip on his shoulder. I've heard it from plenty of people. Non-competes are non-enforceable. So let me tell you, they are enforceable, and even if they're not in the state that you're in, even if you can beat it, the other company's going to run up such a bill on you before you get to fucking court. They're gonna outlast you, and you're gonna be $30,000 in the hole, and you have no money coming in because they're enforcing it if they want to play that game. It's a big deal. You need to watch what you sign.
Yeah. So and that's a takeaway point there. So when you sign your contract, don't just say, "Oh my God, I got a job." Maybe it's the job that you want or the job you think you want, and you get a contract put in front of you. Take your $500, your $1,000, whatever it is, and have an attorney look at it.
Yeah,
and it's not. We're not saying the company's bad. We're not saying you don't know what you're doing, but just get a third party to take a look at your contract, and you might have some questions. You do it to protect yourself.
I think that'd be prudent. Now, we all, any veteran listening knows how they ended up, enlisted guy knows how they ended up. And we would joke about this all the time. Should have read that fucking contract a little bit better. You know, that kind of thing. See the world, they said. We'd pop off like that, joking around. We knew what we were getting into, right? But yeah, you ended up, you signed one contract. You gave 4 years gladly. You did it voluntarily. You just need to be more prudent. You wouldn't just buy a car without reading, maybe you do, without
test
reading
drive
everything and test drive. And reading everything and seeing what the interest rate is and all of that. Don't just sign away. Do your due diligence. Hire, get an attorney that specializes in labor law or whatever and have them look at it.
Yeah. So any job you take, just sign a contract, read it. Don't sign it. Just read it first.
Yeah.
So did some consulting for a year, and then you ended up at SIG.
Yeah, ended up at SIG, and I was the director of marketing and communications.
So let me ask you this. Yeah. Without disclosing any, private information, you went from manager of a gas station, assistant manager of a gas station to Daniel Defense, which went from 11 million, we'll say, to 50 million. Yeah, that's a lot of money. It's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah,
but then you went from that company to SIG, which is, if you had to just, how much bigger is it than Daniel Defense? And where I'm going with this is,
I think I can say this. This is so you're looking like, yeah. I don't think I'm giving anything away here. You're looking at like going from, U.S. commercial sales at Daniel Defense at that point in time, I think was like 30 million, and then you had the military contracts, the UK MOD, as well as, the USO company, maybe a $40 million company, like I said, and then I went. So that was a company that grew so fast, but we thought we were hot dogs, man, because we're part of this growth, right? And then I realized what small potatoes that is when you go to playing for a minor league team, a mid-major, maybe it's AAA,
right,
to the New York Yankees calling you up. That's what the equivalent was.
So you can't quote a number. Let me ask this: how many?
$750 million is what Sig, at that point in time, Sig Sauer around.
How many employees was that?
1,700. Yeah, they hired 400 employees in a course of like 6 months or 7 months or something.
So Sig was huge.
Oh yeah. It was it's a machine. Yeah.
So like, were you prepared for that? So, and I ask a lot of guys like the training that you did leading up to combat.
Yeah, let me back up a second.
Yeah.
Here's what I can't control. There's a lot of variables that you can't control. The one I can control is how hard I work, and that's the one advantage. I think I can outwork anyone, and I'll put the time in. And I might not. You might be smarter than me. You might be more talented than me in whatever way, but I'm eventually going to catch up, and not only, and I'm going to put in the time because I'm really competitive. I'm going to put in that time, and eventually I'm going to be better than you because you're checking out at 5 p.m. or something, and I'm staying till 10 p.m. And that's kind of a nut that way. But yeah, I could outwork people, and that's how I learned, what I did. That's because I majored in something. It wasn't marketing. It was organizational leadership. It was a logistics degree.
Well, I mean, thank God you didn't major in marketing.
Yeah.
Because you probably would have thought you knew something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I had a lot of humility. I mean, I had to, had 17 Marines under. I was big shot, right?
Yeah.
And then a squad leader and come out. I thought they're going to hand me a job. I'm gonna get a degree. Someone will hand me a job, and no, that's not the way it works. I mean, you got to fight for it, and you got to put in your time. And getting a job was my job. Like getting a good job was my fucking job before I had a job.
Yeah, I mean, and Jordan and I have been friends now for a couple of years. He's not bullshit when he says this because Kimber just is in the process of opening a factory in Troy, Alabama. Mm-hmm. And for anyone that knows anything about real estate, anyone in here that's ever bought a house, Jordan looked at 62 homes in Troy, Alabama when he moved there and bought his house recently.
I did.
So Jordan is very thorough.
Yeah.
And his poor realtor was working for sub-minimum wage after about house number 34.
Yeah.
Was it 34 houses or 62?
It was over 60. We did 38 house the first time I went down. So I was living in New Hampshire when I was working for SIG, and I'd fly down to Alabama over a weekend, and so we would hit the ground running, and we'd see 17 homes in one day, and then the next day see another 21 kind of thing. So we saw 38 homes
in a weekend,
and then I'm out, and I've got a 5-year-old in tow with me and a wife.
Yeah, and you're New Hampshire at SIG, and then New York Kimber, and you're just driving back and forth.
Yeah.
So anyway, back to SIG. So you go to SIG, you're going from a company that has 250 employees to 1,600, something like that, whatever the number is.
1,700.
And so that's kind of like another reset for you.
Yeah, it was the big leagues, and man, they're winners over there. They are competitive. They hire. People who say, "What's it like working over there at SIG?" and how was that? And they hear horror stories like it's a meat grinder, and it is, because if you're think you're going to skate your way through it over there, you'll be sought out. You'll be found out, sought out, and kicked out really quick. Yeah, they don't put up. I mean, they want winners, and it is kind of grueling because it's like, what have you done for me lately? That was a great launch you did, Jordan. Yeah, take about a day and celebrate that, and then it's on to the next fucking thing. Focus on the next. Yeah,
nice work on that launch. Now, but hey, what about where are we with this? Wait, hold on, wait a second. Yeah. Like I haven't even finished my first glass of champagne, buddy.
Yeah.
So, at SIG, another reset, totally different environment, and then you went from SIG down to Kimber.
Yeah, so it was kind of cold up there during the winter, and my wife is very southern. She wanted to come back to the southeast. I don't know if she could take another winter, so Kimber approached me, and they heard I wanted to move back down south, and yeah, that's what I did. I went. I took the job with them, and they told me they're expanding into, they're in New York based. They have 5 facilities in New York and New Jersey areas, but they're expanding into Troy, Alabama, which is just south of Montgomery.
Right. So how far is that from hometown Memphis?
4 hours.
4 hours. Yeah. And then from Savannah, which you loved living in Savannah.
11, 12 hours, yeah.
No.
From Memphis.
Oh, I'm talking about from Troy, Alabama. 5 hours?
Oh yeah, it's not far. Yeah, it's not too bad.
Yeah, so you're right back there in the heart of where you wanted to be.
Exactly where I wanted to be, yeah.
So everything, you've worked your ass off for everything. Like,
yeah,
every step has been an adventure, and so
yeah,
you've said maybe a dozen times you didn't know what the fuck you wanted to do.
Yeah,
you're 37 now.
Yeah, and
it sounds to me like you finally know what you want to do, and you are where you want to be.
Once I started working for Daniel Defense, that's the gun industry is where I wanted to be. It's very niche and unique, and I have fought to stay in it. Through non-competes and things like that, and waiting them out and negotiating through contracts and things like that. But yeah, it's cool. It's more restricted on where and how we can advertise than porn. So you have to be that Marine Corps thing, adapt and overcome. That's it's not clean. You can't run AdWords and things like that. There's algorithms that penalize you,
and especially social media. I mean,
you have to be smart.
But a lot of people are like, man, this is fucking bullshit, man. We can't run ads on social media because we're a gun company. It's like, hold on a second, man. That's where you're fucking wrong. Let me tell you why. Because what happens is
don't give away all our secrets.
No, I'm not. The moment that you are allowed to pay for an ad, the moment you can say, you know what, I'm going to put $5,000 behind this ad. You just cheated your fucking self. Let me tell you why. Because you don't have to create organic content. You don't have to understand your consumer. All you have to do is put money behind something, and you'll get your numbers. Every Monday you get a report on social numbers, and they always grow for the most part, by and large. And what that does is it forces you to make sure you're on top of what you're doing, and there's no days off.
Yeah.
Like you can't, like if you take a day or two off on the social side of things and don't put a post up because you're lazier. You just put some shit post up just to put some post up. Your numbers are going to reflect it. So that's why I like the fact, would it be great if we could put $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 behind social media campaigns? Oh man, it'd be awesome. Mm-hmm. However, the beauty of that is we have to make sure the content that's going out is top shelf. And it has to be great. Same with, Dave, like with Black Rifle, like, with stuff, videos
Kings
and things that Matt and Evan does.
Content.
With guns and things like that, YouTube, you can't monetize them because they'll get flagged and whatnot. So, there's a lot of people that would just complain and say, oh man, screw this, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Find something easier to do. This is too hard. But no, man, I think
it's kind of fun.
No, it is. Yeah. Because and it's like, when people are like, oh yeah, man, we've programmed all our month's post out. Mm-hmm. Why would you do that? Because the moment you put 30 days of posts out, you don't think about it anymore. Oh, it's scheduled, man. You think about something else.
I have a question for you about kind of personal development. So you mentioned earlier, you're running the trade show thing, and you kind of insecure about it. Like, can I do this thing?
Yeah.
Like, what's going on? Like, I've sold myself now. I got to deliver.
Yep.
Did you find when you got to this marketing position? I want to talk about that. Did you find like you hit your stride there? Because marketers have a style, and there's no secret sauce. Like everybody does their own thing. So did you feel like how did that come about?
Fear is a pretty great motivator. I'd relocated my family, my wife, it's just she and I at that point. 12 hours from Memphis to Savannah, 12 hours down the road. And it was. I talked about I had a good work ethic to begin with, but that's where it really kicked in. That fear and that, and that turned into confidence, because I forced I went through, and that's something everyone needs. You're not going to, if those guys, PFT, physical fitness test, you're not going to run perfect score in the Marine Corps through the running portion of it is sub 18 minute, 3 mile. You're not getting, that's 6 minute miles. You can, and there's some runners out there. I was never one of them, but I always got, my deal was always about improvement and always getting better and better. And the last PFT I ran was under 18 minutes. The running portion of that, which gets you a perfect score if you do the other two parts of that. But the sit-ups, the pull-ups, and the crunches. But anyway, he's always improving, always seeking self-improvement, and to do that, you got to put in the work. And then confidence comes, and that's really where to your point, like I was faking it, and I was scared that I was gonna be found out.
Sure.
And then I just devoted myself into learning everything I fucking could. And
did you have a mentor or somebody around that you thought was good?
Man, iron sharpens iron, right? So that's another thing. You take those guys in the Marine Corps, and I don't care what branch it is, it's all the same. You've got those guys who you see those guys who cream rises to the top, right? So you hang out those people that if you want to be better, you aspire to do better things, you aspire for more. Hang out with those that you want to emulate.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Andy Stump says what you allow in your presence is your standard.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely. I don't want to sound like him too. Like that's his deal.
Yeah.
He's 100% right.
Yeah, if you
it's being intentional with everything you do.
And like Joe Rogan, did one of his episodes. He was talking about like negativity and allowing it in your presence, and it's like crabs in a bucket. Like not haters isn't the word, but like people that are just always bitching, or someone's always out to get them, or it's always someone else's fault. And like. You said fear is a great motivator. I live in a state of controlled terror. Like I constantly think that everything that I've worked for is going to be snatched out from underneath me. And I don't know why. It's an irrational fear, but, I kind of use it as a motivator, and it's like, okay, well, first of all, I lost everything I had when the real estate market crashed in 2008. I will never lose again as long as I live. I've never lost. I have no intentions of losing. Whatever the fuck I got to do to come out on top, as long as I'm doing it in an ethical way, that's what I'm willing to do. And I surround myself, with awesome people. I don't hang out with shitbags, because you always it doesn't matter if it's a like Logan and I talked about it, like just because someone's younger than you doesn't mean they can't be a mentor, or and vice versa. So like I learned a lot of stuff from Logan, I learned stuff from Evan, I learned stuff from people that are much older than me, but like I just think you just got to be a sponge, and willing to be a sponge.
Yeah.
Oh man, I was like some people could take the position of, man, I was in charge of 17 Marines and a corpsman, dude. I deployed multiple times. I'm not going to listen to this dumbass liquor store owner. I'm just here for a paycheck. You can have that attitude, or you can have positive attitude, and like I'm just going to be positive every day and do everything I possibly can to make things better, make myself better.
For those guys getting out, you're gonna have to humble yourself, and do what you have to do. Reset. You keep saying reset. That is, you're gonna have to reset, and you're starting over. No one gives a fuck. So start working, but figure out what it. So I think I wouldn't have changed anything, by the way, because it all makes you who you are.
Right.
But knowing what I know now, if I was gonna go back in time, I'd be more intentional. I'm big in being intentional about everything. So I'd learn as much as I could about and acquire those skills, or acquire that knowledge that would make me more effective in what I do right now. But hey, who's to say I would have, if I had done that to begin with, studied marketing and all that, and gotten an MBA, and all. By the way, it's something I still should do, go and get an MBA. But who's to say I would have ended up where I did?
Right.
And not that I've arrived, but because I'm one of those who always wants to.
Yeah.
More.
Right.
Right.
But now at least you know what you want to do.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And that's exciting. That's where it got fun. Yeah. You mentioned it. That's where this is the industry I want to be in. This is what I want to do. I want to market. I want to be a marketer in this industry. And I was passionate about firearms, passionate about like-minded people that are in this industry are attracted to it. It's neat. It's a lot of fun.
Everyone has that turning point, when you think in anything, to where it's like, I can do this.
Yeah.
Like I have something to offer in this thing.
Yeah.
And I can be dangerous in what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I remember business, personally, professionally, all those times where I'm like, I've got it. Like I might have something here.
Yeah. I'll add on to that. I think it's more, I've done a ton of stuff that I liked and really enjoyed, but I think when you find something that you like and you enjoy and you're good at it,
Yeah.
Because I think that's the greatest reward in the world.
Well, if you enjoy it, you're going to practice. You're going to do, and you're going to get better and better and better. You know,
not sit on your ass. Yeah. Never sit on your ass.
Jordan, I bet there's somebody listening to this thing right now. I want you to answer something for me. It'd be interesting. What qualities do you think a team leader should have? And is it similar from the military to, say, business?
Yeah.
So tell me about that.
The Marine Corps isn't a perfect organization by any means, but structurally, I do believe it's pretty efficient the way it's structured. You know, you talk about like just a regular rifleman in a team. You're always told, know your job and the job ahead of you. You know, if you get in a gunfight and one of you goes down, hey, job opening, you're stepping in and you're running with it. You know, saw gunner goes down, pick up that thing and start running, that kind of thing. Know your job and the job ahead of you. And that it's the same thing. And then, so you always know where you're going in that organization, the way that structure's set up. I think I just got distracted, but,
managing to objective. That's a big thing.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in that management by objective, and that ties into that. So, you got. I don't tell people how to do things. I tell them what to do, and I expect them to own. It gives you ownership in that. You know, and it's just like
big boy rules.
Yeah. You have your objective in the Marine Corps. You're going to take, hey, cordon and search this area, and we're looking for X, Y, Z, or whatever it is. And it's being intentional in nature, and you can run through. It's being intentional in prior to in the patrol order that you're given, or the pre-patrol inspection of your guys, hitting all the checkpoints and calling back, all that stuff. It's all intentional in approach and methodology. It's that same thing. No, and then it goes, and then taking it as far as being a leader and how to lead. I think telling your guys what to do, but not how to do it. That's a big deal. It was General Patton said, I tell people what to do. I don't tell them how to do it. That's management by objective in a nutshell. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, I agree. I think, it's interesting, and I can't speak to the Marine Corps, but in law enforcement, I know personally, like I always thrived in kind of chaos. I enjoyed not knowing what was going to happen, and that works. And for me personally, like I was pretty good early on, like creating chaos, but it took me a long time to be able to create a structure of people below me and then give them the rope that they needed, if you will, to be able to do their job. And similar to you, like I've been around, I'm sure you have two managers that are, we'll say, micromanagers, but at the end of the day, it's like, do you trust your people to do their job, to be great? And if you do, then let them be great. You
asked when I hit my stride, and it was, and I did say, so enough rope to hang myself is initially what I thought they were, they were giving me freedom, and that's where I hit my stride. And holy shit, I can do this. It was, that's when I hit my stride. And that's take back now that I'm in that kind of a position where I can do that for people underneath. I'm going to give them enough rope where they can be successful, and they can take ownership and pride in what they're doing, and it's theirs. And that's another, where the Marine Corps failed though, and what the Army does a little bit better in my opinion, is from an enlisted standpoint. I don't give a fuck. Some officers listening, it's like, oh, we didn't do it like that. You go fuck yourself. Yeah, you did. We would go do things. We first couple days out, and after we left Kandahar, and we were pumping out. So we did over 100 kilometers in like the first 4 days. Holy shit, that was like this walking, man. And you talk about like, why are we fucking humping up and down these mountains? How does that tie into the bigger picture? It would have taken 5 seconds to fucking, let me map this out on the ground for you and see how that your unit ties into this Army unit, and you're moving in this. We're setting up. It's a big net, dude, and we're all encircling this area, and we're gonna get in a gunfight in a few days. Like, just taking the time to explain why we're walking would have been great. It was a miracle. I want to over communicate to my team what it is we're doing, so they can then figure out how. Here's the objective. Here's our fiscal focus this year. Here's the objective. Here's what we're trying to do. How does that apply to my creative leads lane? Now you go apply that to go do your thing. I expect this to be the result. Figure out a way to make it happen.
I think that transparency breeds a culture of people wanting to work for you. Like, you know, people
and loyalty
like
too.
Yeah,
I think.
loyalty. Like I'm willing to fail myself, but I'm not willing to fail my team.
It's okay. Yeah. Failure, you know, just like when you're in, and it doesn't matter if law enforcement, it doesn't matter what military branch, you don't want to fail the team. Peer pressure is an awesome motivator. You know, you do not want to fail the team.
You don't
Never.
let anybody down.
Yeah,
Can't.
That's a shit feeling, man.
Impossible. Like it's terrible.
No,
you're the
can't do it.
guy, the weakest link, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, just knowing like this didn't work because of me. Like, I would vote to change the subject because I won't be able to sleep tonight if I start thinking about that. Like, it just, I mean, I can't imagine that, man.
I've been on both ends of that. I'm sure you have too.
Yeah.
Jordan, in your position now, what does success look like to you, and how do you measure it? At this, you know, you've done a lot of things, and you're on the brink of some really cool stuff. Like, you know, if you're like a lot of people, it's hard. Like you hit these milestones and you do what you want to do. And for me, and I'm sure it's for like everyone in this room, like it doesn't feel any different. Like the grind's real. Like you hit it and you're like, great. And then you say like, what's
now
next?
what? Yeah.
So
yeah.
Tell me about that.
So career-wise, I always wanted more. Once I hit that stride and started seeing where I could go with it, kind of jumping quick, because of the effort I was putting in, being rewarded, and you know, not just monetarily, but with positions and more abilities to lead, or more opportunities to lead. I realized really quick. I mean, I don't want to stop until I hit that top level, you know, and that's a CEO. When I interviewed it with Ron Cohen at Sig Sauer, who is their president CEO, interesting guy, former Israeli IDF guy, right? Mm. Israeli Defense Force guy. And we kind of had that bond of shoot a motherfucker in the face kind of thing going on, shoot a Haji in the face. But he was one of those guys when he interviewed me, he looked at me and he asked, he stopped and he goes, where do you want to be when you retire? What position? Where do you want to be? And I was trying to like find. He wasn't looking for me to give him a humble answer. He wanted me to tell him what I fucking really wanted. And I was in his office, and I just for a second was trying to think, how do I tell him I want his job? And he goes, hey, I'll tell you what. If you say anything in his very thick, he's got an accent, but he said, if you say anything else, then that fucking chair right there, you're wrong. And he's pointing at his own chair. Well, he's right. That's where I wanted to end up. And so keeping that goal, what's the one, you know, career-wise, that's where I want to end up. What I need to get there, being intentional. I need to finish my MBA. What else do I need to do? There's several. I need to understand more about the lean manufacturing. If I want to stay in the firearms manufacturing industry, I need to be a better leader and continue to grow that way, personal growth and professional growth both. And then I need to maintain that. I don't like failing in anything, and then maintaining that balance with my wife and my family, my kid, and still being trying to be a great dad that she deserves, my daughter, you know.
So be present in work, be present in your family life.
Be intentional.
Just be there.
Be there and give it all. You know, what's the one thing that's most important? That's another thing, is setting those goals and sharing them with people. That core group of people, if you're keeping the right people around you, it becomes real when you speak it to one another. Like, this is what I want, and they encourage you if you're keeping the right people around, and they challenge you too. Well, how are you going to get there? What are you going to do?
I've always done that. Like when I decide, like when I competed in powerlifting, I mean, that's the most recent thing. But like I always would make these like asinine fucking goals, and I would tell people what I was going to do, and I would talk about it.
Now you got to fucking do it.
Now it's on record.
Yeah,
it's on record.
And so you have these people that like JT talks about it all the time. You see these people with like their fucking goal is to post a picture of a Rolex like in a nice car on Instagram. That's making it to them. Mm-hmm. To me, that's not it at all. Like it's something bigger than that. And I believe when you talk about it and you say it out loud and you write it down, you're turning a wish or a dream into a goal. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't matter how big or small that item is. So I use, Evan turned me onto this app called Clear, mm-hmm. which is where you put notes and to-do lists and stuff. I write everything down.
Yeah.
Buy a new blazer. Doesn't matter what it is, because you get in the habit of writing things down and checking them off. one would be consistent shooting my bow, or learn and understand ballistics, which I don't really know much about, but become a much better shot. Shoot consistently inside a pie plate at 500 yards. Write that down. Make X amount of money. Pay off all. I have zero credit card debt. I have zero debt. Pay off all debt. Whatever your goal is, whatever you want to do in life, write it down. Because otherwise it's just a wish, man. Fuck wishes. Fuck a wish.
Switches in your brain.
Yeah.
When you say, I want to do this thing.
Right.
Even in fishing, it's the same thing. I said, I want to win a world championships. And they said, you're crazy. But now I've said this thing. So
right.
I'm either, and when you see me in a year, you're going to say, did you ever do that?
Yeah.
And I don't want to say, no, man.
No.
Yeah,
you don't know.
I was just kidding. No, but you write things down,
Xbox.
say it to people in your circle and write it down, and don't write it down and hide it. Put that shit up where you have to look at that fucking list every single day. When I open my laptop, first thing that pops up, my clear list.
Yeah.
My pegboard at the desk in my loft, wish list. Left side is goals, things I want to accomplish this year. Right side is what I'm doing right now. And I write it down on index cards, and I take a straight pen, and I stick it in the board. And it's got everything from companies and things I want to do, hunts I want to go on, goals I want to accomplish. It's just, run your mouth. And tell people what you're going to do.
And people who have gotten there, relying on people who have gotten there, and you'll be surprised. The mentor thing is a big deal. I like to. It's kind of an intimidating thing, and when I read all these books and self-help crap and all that stuff and focus, it's all you read one, you read them all kind of thing for the most part. But there's having a mentor or mentors is very important. And when I chose mine, it was guys who have accomplished what I hope to when I'm their age. Right. And people, I was like, this is kind of an intimidating thing to like, hey, would you mind if I pick your brain every once in a while? It's kind of an intimidating thing. Like, why the fuck would they? People love to talk about them fucking selves. He would love to share. These people love sharing how they got to where they are.
Right.
Man, if he can paint a picture for me, a roadmap, how to get to where he's gotten, I'm gonna
right.
beat him up about it. Get all the information I can possibly from him.
Right. So, and to add on to that, people that it's like gambling. No one ever talks about their wins because that would be rude. They'll talk about their losses because that's not rude. But if you find someone that has accomplished successes, they're super successful because they don't run around running their fucking mouths. However, if you sit them down and say, hey, man, I'd like to ask you some questions. And it's just you and I'm not going to run around. You're not bragging. I'm legitimately curious. How did you accomplish these things? So for now, it's an educational opportunity for them to talk about what they've done. Whereas normally they don't get that opportunity very often.
It's how often they've failed.
Right.
And it's okay, man. It's get the fuck back up and keep going after it until you get there.
Yeah, it's like when I lost everything in real estate, I felt sorry for myself for 48 hours. And then I was like, what a loser mentality this is. And I was like, I'm embarrassed talking about it right now. I was so mortified that I felt sorry for myself for 48 hours. I was like, I'm out.
That growth that you get from failing, it's a good thing. I mean, as long as you handle it the right way, man, I've learned from it. Now I know what the fuck not to do.
Yeah, because the wins are fleeting, though.
Yeah.
Honestly, like, like you said at SIG, like it's, that was a great launch. What about,
hey,
how's this next thing going?
Yeah.
But like the wins are fleeting because it's normally all the hard work that goes into a success is what really matters. But like when you get to you crest that mountain or whatever it is, you're like, okay, well, that was a lot fucking easier than I expected. Now, what's the next thing?
I think too, consider like, when going back to like some fishing, some other stuff, like we would visualize mistakes a lot, and that sounds crazy.
No, yeah.
But the truth is, in our brains, we want to talk about where we're crushing this and we landed this and we're doing that and we've got all this stuff, great stuff going on, and that's easy because we're all have, aspirational. But I think about a lot personally, like what am I going to do when I fail? Like what's my contingency plan? It's that way in shooting as well. Like we're all enthusiasts, like. We're always training for the best case scenario, and I like training for the worst case scenario, right? And I think that's an interesting, dynamic of what I picture. Like, what am I going to do when it fails? Like, what am I going to do when this deal doesn't go through, or what am I going to do when fill in the blank, right?
Because the failures are going to happen.
Yeah.
No one makes it through without failing.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. So And I think that is a great point to end this wonderful episode with Jordan Hunter from Kimber and Paul Bork from Drift Media. Where can they find you, Jordan?
In our booth, at the Kimber booth.
At SHOT Show.
At SHOT Show. And
There we go.
And the booth number I can't remember right now.
I should know that. So
Yeah.
But so we're at SHOT. And then Paul, where can they find you?
Oh man,
Drift
all
Media.
over. Yeah, driftmedia.com.
Yeah. And then they can find Jordan or his work at
KimberAmerica.com.
KimberAmerica.com. So thanks everyone for tuning in. Glad to have you.